Yes, I really was not joking when I said that I make honest content. Hey folks, it's Finn. Welcome back folks, lovely to see you. So today's video is all about phalloplasty, and I'm now at the end of my phalloplasty journey. So I'm now going back and revisiting lots of the decisions that I made and looking about how I feel about them now. One of the most difficult things about phalloplasty is that it isn't straightforward. Not only do you have to decide whether to take the graft from your arm or from somewhere else, there's also lots of other decisions along the way, such as having a hysterectomy. And some of those decisions are harder than others, and some decisions I wrestle with more than others. And today I want to talk about a particularly difficult topic, but I think it's important to talk about because I know I'm not alone. So today I want to talk about the vaginectomy. As you can see by my face, I still struggle to say that word. And in today's video, I want to talk about why I found the idea of having the vaginectomy so difficult, why I then chose to have it, and how I feel about that decision now. So, before we go any further, as you've probably gathered by this introduction, this video is going to be a really honest talk about my genitals and about sexuality and about sex. So if you don't want to watch that, do feel free to navigate away. I won't hold it against you. And for those of you that are still here, let's get stuck in. So I lovingly referred to my vagina as the Batcave. And I'm going to refer to it as that from now on because it's just easier and more comfortable. So let's start with why you have a vaginectomy as part of lower surgery. The main reason is to make things easier. Having a penis created and a scrotum created means that access to the Batcave would be very difficult. Also, if you keep the Batcave, then you're going to need to have smear tests to make sure that everything is cancer-free in there. So for that ease, most of the time people choose to have the Batcave closed for business. So why was I so hesitant? Some trans people want to keep their Batcave because they get pleasure from it. Some people even want to go on to have children and actually give birth themselves. It is all possible and absolutely it is your choice. For me, no desire to give birth to my own children at all, but I was still able to get some pleasure from my Batcave. And so for me, there was a big fear that if I had my Batcave closed, that I would lose the ability to have pleasure. Now, when I was struggling with these decisions, I really worried about whether I was trans enough. Because I was doubting wanting the Batcave closed, I worried that I wasn't dysphoric enough. Now, dysphoria when it comes to lower parts is quite complicated, because there were some aspects of my lower parts that were hugely dysphoria-inducing and other parts that weren't as much. Now, I didn't like anybody parking in the Batcave, shall we say, but I didn't mind kind of people skirting around the edges. I could still get pleasure from those parts. It wasn't as clear as my top surgery. Anybody came near my top half before I had surgery, I would have vomited. Whereas down there it was very different. I knew that to be more comfortable in my body I needed lower surgery. But it wasn't as if everything was completely not okay down there. And the biggest fear for me really was in no guarantee of the sensation I'd get with a new penis. And I had this huge fear that I'd have this new penis created and a Batcave closed, but not any ability to enjoy my new penis. What if I lost sensation? What if then I really missed the Batcave being closed for business and there was no way to get pleasure? Let me say, it is absolutely normal and okay to have these kind of doubts. None of this means you aren't trans enough. None of this means you haven't got enough dysphoria to warrant lower surgery. It's understandable that, of course, I wanted a new penis, and if I could have had the guarantee of having sensation and then losing my old parts wouldn't have mattered, I wouldn't have hesitated. But that fear of having a brand new body part and no ability to enjoy sex and sensation, you know, that's a big fear and it's normal to be worried about it. So for me, I decided to just wait and see how I felt after having my first stage, because the vaginectomy isn't done until the second stage of lower surgery. And it was actually in having that first stage that then I realised that I absolutely did need the Batcave closed for business. Once I came around from my first stage of surgery and I saw my new penis, in comparison, I absolutely knew at that point that I had to then have the Batcave closed, because to suddenly have this wonderful penis but this open area underneath suddenly felt so wrong. It's a really strange thing when you're going through transition, is you can't know what it feels like to be truly comfortable in your body when you're so used to your body being a real site of pain and distress, and of having to negotiate bits of your body. This bit you can be touched, this bit can't. To know what it's like to have a whole body that's okay to be touched is something you can't imagine until you've got it. I mean, now, at the end of my surgery journey, to have an entire body that I can inhabit and that I can be touched, I can touch, other people can touch it, is amazing. I couldn't have imagined this state of being. And so once my new penis had been born, so to speak, then in comparison to how wonderful he looked and how wonderful he felt, the old parts were suddenly so incredibly wrong, and I couldn't believe I'd even doubted that they needed to be gone. And I knew then that it was an easy decision. Shut the Batcave for business. I didn't need that. And now I do this every now and again. I'll have a little feel underneath, and I wonder if like I'll have a memory of how it used to be. And there's nothing there. No, none at all. When I woke up from stage 2 and everything was closed, it was just like it always should have been. There's a book I always recommend to people when you're trying to work through lower surgery, and it's a book called Hung Jury. And of course I also recommend my book, My Lower Surgery Memoir, which comes out early in 2020. And it's a really amazing book. Loads of different trans people talk about their journey through lower surgery and talk about how they feel about it. And there's one part where they describe it being a wet area versus a dry area. And in suddenly having stage 2 and having everything closed and dry, that's absolutely how my body should feel. But I didn't know that in the beginning. In the beginning, I was just used to a body that felt okay in bits and okay in areas and not okay in others. But then to suddenly have a penis and a closed area, everything dry, neat, was just like, oh my goodness, that's how a body should feel. So now, of course, I'm so glad I made that decision. But I'm also really glad that I took my time to work that out. Because through lower surgery, it's so important that you acknowledge your doubts and you take time, because this is such a difficult journey that if you really own those decisions, when complications and setback and pain happens, as it does with this journey, owning those decisions then makes everything easier to deal with. So never be ashamed or afraid to stop and think, actually I'm not quite sure if I want this, is this okay? Talk to other trans people, because I guarantee there are lots of people who get it. It's just often people aren't talking about it because of fear of being judged. I really worried that I'd be judged if I said out loud that I was worried about losing the Batcave, whereas it makes sense now. So yes, long and short of it is that I'm very glad I made that decision, and that everything now is neat and tidy and as it should be. I really hope that was helpful. If you do have any questions, if there's something I've not covered and you'd like to know, please do leave me a message in the comment section below. If you want to see more of my lower surgery videos, I'll link you to a playlist here. And if you haven't already subscribed, I'd love it if you would do so, and you can do that here. Thanks for watching, folks. Take care of yourselves. See you next week.